Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are back talking with Simone, better known as Real Talk with Simone. That's what she does for a living, and she's here to help coach you through anything. She's based out of Anaheim, California, but virtually Simone Peront can work with you anywhere around the world. So we're going to talk to her today about the talk therapy she offers and so much more. First and foremost, let's welcome our guest back to the show. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How's the weather in California?
It's actually quite windy today.
Is it? And
Yeah.
what's the weather? Just curious.
It is cloudy, 72 degrees. We've had a couple warnings of high winds here and there, but
Okay.
overall okay.
Good. Well, glad to have you back. For new time listeners, let's start off by telling them a little about who you are, what you do, if you don't mind.
Okay, so I'm a life coach. I allow people the opportunity to vent and talk about what's going on in their life, just to clear their headspace. I also help people be held accountable for their dreams and goals, and I'm here for support if you need that.
Perfect. So what types of topics do you get into with your clients? What do people really want to talk most about?
A lot of it that I found is relationships and just finding themselves. And the other topic I've also come across is overcoming addictions with the internet and video games.
And you broke up a little bit there. You said something about video games. Could you repeat that last part?
Yes, addiction for video games.
Wow.
That's addiction towards video games.
How many people are in? That's something I never even thought of or really heard of. But like, I have a 6 and 8-year-old. They're like on the iPad all the time. Like that to me, that's an addiction. But tell me how severe it can get for someone.
Mm-hmm. So it's not just, you said around 8, 9 years old, you said?
Mine are 6 and 8, yeah.
Okay. So I'm actually seeing this in like their older 20s, like 24, 25, believe it or not, or even a little bit past that. And so what it is, it's like trying to curb boredom, a lack of life purpose, motivation, confidence, just trying to like fill a void. Like maybe there are things that are bothering them that they are wanting to get help with or wanting to talk about. And so they're just using video games or social media, whatever it is, to help build that void so that they don't have to think about it. So that's kind of like why people are so engaged with that.
Interesting. And then what about like sex addiction or like porn? That's something that people could be addicted to as well. Have you worked with someone with that, or is that more of a specialized area?
So that is more of a specialized area, but I have actually come across some folks who've had issues dealing with sex addiction as well. And so, you know, I let people know as a disclaimer, I'm a life coach and not a licensed therapist, but so just in case if they did need a referral, I'm happy to give them a sex therapist referral. They will talk about with me about how many times they're engaged with that during the week, how it makes them feel, or, you know, like what goes on in their mind. And so when I give them the disclaimer, I also just, you know, let them know, I understand you need to express yourself and release some things or whatnot. But if you get too much engaged with porn, not only is it unhealthy for your mind mentally, it gives a wrong perception of what women's needs are or what their wants are. You know, it's I just motivate them and encourage them, you know, like to try not to watch it at all, which is, you know, kind of hard, but I just motivate them to cut down on it and to engage with different activities such as exercise or just doing different things to provide that same similar rush effect, but to replace that with something else. So I have come across some individuals who've experienced that. And while talking to me, I mean, I'm glad that I've been able to help them out. They've just let me know that they've been able to cut down on it have reduced it like to maybe like 4 times a week to now like 1 time, which is good. And I'm glad. But yes, I have dealt with that as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing. And just curious, someone who's like addicted to video games, right? I mean,
Mhm.
how long does it take someone to get over that? I mean, what type of process is it? Is it a weaning process? You don't just do cold turkey, no video games. How does that work? How do you build up to that?
Well, I have to get into their minds a little bit. I have to talk to them. I have to understand why they're doing it in the first place. Like,
Okay.
why are you, without trying to make them feel bad, like, why are you on it so much? What is it about it that you like? What makes you feel good about it? And then once they start to talk about it and tell me maybe what voids they're trying to fill,
Mm-hmm.
that's when we start to wean in on the progress. Like, so for one example, this person was using the virtual reality as an escape to not focus on his relationships, just to avoid getting into one because he's afraid of the commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay, you're afraid of commitment. So I start to address his fears about it. And then from there, we're holding each other, like I'm helping him be held accountable by keeping check with him and just making sure that he's like not on it so much, cutting down, like taking it step by step. So
Got it.
you have to get into the minds of why they're doing it and the voids, because if you don't know why, it's really hard to start the process, and they have to start talking about it also.
Got
So
it. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. Let's also talk more about, as a life coach, what made you become a life coach? What were you doing before this or still doing now? Because some people have more than one job.
so before life coaching, just doing my own thing, going to school, sports, and I've always been this way. So my friends and family would always feel comfortable talking to me about their problems and what's going on. And I hear the word trust get thrown in a lot, which would be, I feel like I can talk to you and trust you more than I can with my other friends, which would make
Mhm.
me feel good, but also concerned at the same time. Um, because I feel that like when you have a circle of friends, you should be able to, be able to do that.
Yeah.
I'll get to that more in a second, but I've always been naturally just a go-to person, and that's what's inspired me to get the life coach business up and running.
Perfect. Awesome. Good to know. And let's talk a little bit about the passion you get from helping people, because you've always kind of had this innate way about you, which we talked about, right?
Yeah.
And into more detail, how can a life coach really help? I'm glad we brought up some examples before, like the video game addiction, but what other things as well?
So what's good about life coaching and why I encourage the path of self-development and improvement is it's a good way to understand more of who you are,
Hmm.
to understand your strengths and your talents, and through understanding more through self-discovery, you understand more of your values and your
Hmm.
purpose.
Perfect. And you mentioned certain areas. We talked a little bit about the addictions, career coaching. There's finance. There's spiritual, business, relationships, health, just to name a few. Right. Let's talk
Yes.
spiritual coaching. Could you share a little bit about what that entails?
Okay, so with spiritual coaching, I am respectful of other people's beliefs and religions. And I don't get too much of the spiritual, but the experiences that I've had with them is when I'm listening to their calling, their choosing, I like I'm happy to hear that there's something in them that calls to them spiritually, because once they bring up their faith, I try my best to encourage that person to walk within their faith, to help guide them with along with the life coaching self-improvement process.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe that the mind, body, and the spirit, they're all connected in some fashion. And so when they bring it up, I will say, did you see your pastor, your deacon, or your spiritual advisor today? And then they'll talk about how it's helped them, make them feel better. And I'll encourage them to go to their spiritual walk. So I'll use that.
Got it. Well, what about some things with health coaching? What types of things do people come to you to speak to about as far as health is concerned?
So my experience with health coaching was dealing with, so I have had an experience with somebody who is obese
Okay.
and just hating life. And yeah, it was just like a pretty sticky, serious situation. But as a life coach, I've been able to provide hope by letting them know that wherever they start, no matter where they're at, that it's okay, that they just have to start somewhere. This is a delicate situation because there's a lot of pain and there's a lot of hurt going on right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been able to instill a talk therapy about their emotions, their bottled up, things that are going on. And I will start to help create some type of, actually like an exercise plan and some nutrition,
Okay.
or things that they can do to help start taking steps forward. And I do this because I've had experience as an athlete. I've done track and field, martial arts, etc. And so I feel that as through the life coaching path, I've been able to help give them some structured exercises and stuff like that to help them. So I've dealt with that before as well.
Got it. Thank you for sharing. All right. Also, as far as a life coach, you mentioned finance. So a lot of people want to manifest more, and a lot of us do want more money, right? So when it comes to finance, is it about that, or is it about how to manage your money better, to start saving or to pay off credit card debt? What types of things specifically when it comes to finance do you mostly deal with?
So with finance, the question will revolve around, why do you want to make the money that you do?
Mm-hmm.
What are your goals with the money, or what is it about it that makes you want to make more? So we get behind the why when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to finances. That is geared more towards accountability, life coaching.
Okay.
And we look at the picture of where they're at, like maybe the credit card debt,
Mm-hmm.
how much they make at their current job. As we're discovering the talents and their strengths and their purpose, I think this is where it's important to create the goals that they're wanting and to identify the obstacles that may get in the way. Because
Mm-hmm.
if they're not happy with their current job, I don't
Yep.
advise them to just quit their job, but
Mm-hmm.
help them to see how they can get to wanting to be an engineer. So I'm just using that as an example. So we talk about what it's going to take to be an engineer, And then based on how much they're money making currently, what they can do to save that money, what they can do to grow that money. So we just talk a little bit here and there as far as finances.
Got it. All right, good to know. And as a life coach, why would someone see you to come to you instead of a therapist? Could you just share that difference? It's always good to point out.
So with what I do and the style that I present, I'm very personal, bubbly, and animated. And with a therapist, they will, and I've had experiences with therapists before, they'll sit with you with a notepad and pen and they'll ask you the questions and they'll hear what you have to say, but their demeanor is serious, almost as if you're putting up a therapist wall. And so sometimes I feel that when you project that seriousness, the clients also feel they have to be kind of like in the same way. And with me, when I tell people that I will provide honest feedback before the sessions and stuff, and when I smile, I give a frustrated look or, that sort of thing, I allow people to just be themselves and feel comfortable. I'm real with them. I've had people ask me, hey, is it okay if I cuss to let out some steam? I've had a person just take their hair tie out of their hair and just like let it all out and just like lean back in a chair sort of thing. So I think that if a person is wanting that personable but yet professional approach where they're going to be respected and have like that engagement, then that's where I feel like I'd be a good fit for them.
Perfect. Good to know. Thank you. And what is a trait that allows you to feel compassion towards someone?
Okay, so I feel like I have a superpower, human strength, and that's being intuitive. And being intuitive has allowed me to see why someone is telling me what they're saying, and sometimes, or a lot, will also allow me to see what they're going to say before they even say it, which is interesting. And I feel like I've always been pretty intuitive. So that allows me to really connect with somebody and help me to give them the guidance that they need to go forward.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, do therapists give advice? Can you share how that works? Because as a life coach, you can, but can therapists?
So therapists don't give advice, or it would be very minimal, like very minimal. But mostly no, because they're taught that if they just give advice in an overpouring kind of a way, that it could go against their code of ethics should they accidentally say something wrong, because the last thing that they would want to do is have a person take a step backwards. So the answer is mostly no. They're just more of like a sounding board.
Then how does that help someone? I'm just curious, right? Because they're just there to listen. Where does the action take place? Do they want you to figure it out in your own head and then go by that? Like, I'm confused about that. Interesting.
So it is kind of like a process where you are figuring it out in your head by whatever questions they're asking of you and whatever that you're sharing with them, because the sharing aspect is allowing the client to feel better. So that is the process. I can say that because I've seen two in my life. One was a school psychologist a long time ago, and then another one was in a group setting for family.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yep, same here. And I just don't remember. It's been so long since I spoke to a therapist. It was probably high school. I think,
Mm.
yeah, no, maybe in my 20 something years ago. So a long time, But interesting. Trying to remember, and it's hard, but it's not always bad to have both and then see what works for you, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Do you offer any specific packages for coaching? How does that part work?
So right now I don't offer packages. They're single sessions
Okay.
and they can be bought several at a time for the person's liking. The reason for this is because and the consultation is free. After I talk to somebody, after a few sessions, it gives me a good idea of where the person is coming from, what they're needing and they're wanting. And so from there, we discuss one-on-one how many times they want to see me, and
Okay.
then just go from there as far as like pricing. Yeah.
Good. Well, also, what would you say? Do you have something inspirational, a quote or saying, a perspective that you want to give to any of our listeners today that are here and maybe in need of coaching?
So the perspective that I would like to offer is don't give up on your goals and your dreams. Be very relentless about them. Give everything you got, 110%. And just keep making progress and do this every day.
Okay.
And I'm actually serious when I say this.
Got it. And is there any mindset that we could start taking advantage of tomorrow to, start that in a sense? Do you journal? Do you have meditation practice? Anything that you could recommend for us today?
Yes, I love journalizing. I think it's a great way to get in touch with your feelings and writing down what's important to you. If you don't have a journal, I encourage you to just go buy one over at the store. Could be Amazon or Walgreens, wherever that's convenient for you. And I would just start the process today if you can.
Yay, thank you. And if we do want to reach out, you offer an initial consultation for someone. Could you share how that process works?
Yes, so as far as the consultations, they are free. You can call me or email me at Simone, Simone, at realtalkw.com. The the sessions can be done over the phone, online chat, Zoom, in person, or if you are in the area, and we can just meet up and get started today if you want.
Perfect. All right. Sounds like a plan. And if we want to reach out to you, share how, please.
You can send me an email at Simone@realtalkwsimone.com.
Perfect. And leave us off with something good. Weekends here, the week is beginning, the weekend just ended. Give us some inspiration for our day, please. The beginning of the week, we're a little down. What are you feeling?
So I feel like at this holiday season, our mind is going to feel overwhelmed. Please take a step aside to just pause and just self-reflect. If you need to step out of what's going on for the Thanksgiving holiday, whether it's traffic, just crazy politics at the dinner time or whatever that's going on, please don't forget to take some time set aside for yourself. And even if it's for 5 minutes, just make sure you take the time to do that.
Beautiful. We will, I think. Thank you so much. And remind us how we can contact you.
By email at Simone@realtalkwsimone.com.
Aw, thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you here. Good chat, good talk. What do you have planned for the rest of the day? Anything exciting?
No, not anything super exciting. Just I'm going to take a lunch break pretty soon. Food's always exciting, and then
Yeah.
and then just get some work done and call it a day.
Good for you. We'll enjoy. Talk soon, okay? Thank you again. Have a fantastic day and a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.